Hi, in this video we are going to continue with the downloading of the softwares of Java. So in the earlier video we discussed about the two variants in which we can go ahead and download the Java software. The one is OpenJDK, another one is the Oracle portal. Now you can see right now I'm just running on a virtual machine which contains the Windows operating system. So this is my virtual machine, and behind the scene what you can see is my Mac operating system. So on top of my Mac operating system, I'm just running my Windows using a virtual environment. Here in the earlier video we saw this portal. So here it's a place where we can just go ahead and download the zip file, right? So this is the archive that's required for the Windows operating system. The same way we have it for the Linux and the Mac operating system. So this is for OpenJDK, right? The same way we have for Oracle as well. So from Oracle we can either download the archive, that is the zip file, or we can go ahead and download the installer version. Now if you look at these two things, both are flexible enough, but installer seems to be much easier for the newbie who is a learner for the very first time. But preferably we can use installer always, so that it does all its installation completely into the system. So you can choose either one, it's up to your requirement. But right now I already have the softwares downloaded, and I've kept it on my download section. So the first thing I would like to show you is in the download section I have downloaded all the variants of Oracle Java and as well as OpenJDK. The one thing that you have to notice here is so we have OpenJDK, which is of 64-bit, and we have Oracle JDK, that is Java Development Toolkit, we call it as, and then we have an installer version. So this is your installer version, this is your archived Oracle, and this is your archived OpenJDK, and this is your extracted version. So I extracted from the respective archive. The Oracle archive is extracted, and the OpenJDK archive is also extracted here, right? Now I have already installed the Oracle 16 on this Windows operating system using the installer type, but I would like to show you that how to set the path in the class path to make sure that the software is accessible for us in order to further develop our application using Java language. Now what we have to do for that is, the very first thing that we have to check is we need to access the Java commands. So let's say I'm taking you to a console screen that is from the Windows environment. They call it as a command prompt. The first thing that we have to check is do we have Java installed in our machine or not. So I'm just saying Java C space - version in order to check which version that we have installed in our machine. So when I hit enter, it says it's unrecognized. The Java C command, which is used for compiling the code, is unrecognizable. The same way we have another command for executing the Java code, and that's all about Java command, and the version when I check for it, it says unrecognizable. The reason that both the commands are unrecognizable is because we have the software installed in our machine, but unfortunately we haven't set the path in the class path to recognize the specific commands in order to use them. And also going forward we need to use the library, the Java library, and we need to set the class path for it. I'll give you a detailed explanations on that shortly. But right now this is the status that we don't have those commands accessible. Now as I told you, once after you download the installer, right, you can just run this exe file on your Windows, and this will take you to a prompt, which I don't want to do it. It's all self-explanatory. You can just click on that exe and then follow the steps that's going to be shown on the GUI mode, that is GUI, graphical user interface, and you can just click on next kind of a process to complete the installation successfully. Once the installation is completed, you can come back to your C drive of your Windows operating system, and you can notice that there will be the program files folder, right? So this is important one to take a note of it. So inside this program files, there will be a presence of the Java folder once after we completed with the installation using the installer version. Now if you get into the program files, you can notice that there is a Java folder in it, or a directory we call it as. Inside that directory you will find JDK directory, Java Development Toolkit, and the version is reflected there, which is of 16. Now if you get into this particular directory, you will find a lot of other folders or directories or subdirectories will be there. If you notice this bin directory, okay, so there is a bin directory. This is very important. Then you have a lib directory, which is also important. So what these folders are going to help us. If you look at the bin directory, you will have all the binary commands that can be used. Like for example, let's say I want to use Java C, then you need to look out for the presence of Java C command. Yes, of course we have the Java C command here. So the understanding is the Java C command is present in this directory. In this directory we have the Java C command. But if you look at here, you also have Java command, which is for executing the Java code. Java C is for compiling the Java program. You have Java P for testing out your packages. There are a lot of other commands are also there. So like for example, you want to archive your Java application, then we'll be using jar command. So there are multiple command files which are found inside this bin directory. Command files, Java command files we call it as. Okay, these are called as Java command files. So in order to use these commands respectively, not only from the command prompt but also for the other applications which want to utilize these commands in order to make sure your application is running successfully on your machine, then obviously we need to set the path of this bin directory. So bin refers to the binary. So this bin directory need to be set as a path in our environment variable. We have a location called environment variable settings, and on that we need to set this path. Once the path is set, then these commands will be recognizable. Then one more thing that we have to do here is we have to set the class path. Along with the path, we have to set the class path. The class path is used for referring to the libraries of the Java programming. Okay, you'll have all the libraries. Probably people who have already come across C and C++, you know what I mean by library. It's a predefined set of APIs or codes which are already there to build our application on top of that. So those libraries will be residing inside the specific directory called lib directory, library directory, and that we need to set it as a class path. So if I take you there, earlier I showed the lib directory, right? So this lib directory is going to carry your source, literally the library class files. So this particular location where you can find JRTFS, okay, there are multiple other files are also there. We do have, it's an open source as I stated, so you also have the source code available. Okay, you can just open the SRC folder and see the actual source code of all the library classes that are available in Java API. Now this location is essentially required for setting the class path. I'll again reiterate. So the Java JDK lib is required for setting up your class path. We need to set the class path. So what the class path contains? It contains the library directory, what the library directory contains in it? None other than your library files of your Java language. Or let's say, for example, the the class files. Okay, we call it as a class files. For example, I want to use system class. Then literally that system class is a predefined class, kept it inside the library location, so that your compiler or any other environment can quickly recognize the library and help you to compile your code and execute your code. So libraries are very important, so we need to set the class path. And apart from that, there is something called Java home directory. Java home directory. Okay, Java underscore home, we call it as a variable, environment variable. And this Java underscore home directory should contain only the root directory of the Java folder. The root is the JDK. Okay, only the JDK root directory. So there are three things that we are trying to focus right now. One is the Java underscore home, which will carry the root directory path. The second one is the path, which will contain the bin directory. The third one is the class path, which will contain the lib directory. Right? So notice that these are three essential environment variables that we need to set in our environment variable location, so that we'll be able to access our access our Java environment successfully, and we can compile and execute the application. So right now we just experienced that we were unable to access the commands. You just saw that Java C and Java versions are version retrieval are unable to perform because those commands are not recognizable. But fortunately, when you install your JDK 16 via Oracle installer, by default there is a temporary location where we can find these Java and Java C commands are located, and that path will be set in your environment variable. I'll just show you that steps. So this is the location where by default the Oracle installer will map it. So let's say, for example, we have Java, Java C commands are there. These commands are set as a temporary path. Okay, but this is not what we wanted. So that's the reason I'm going to manually set the path, the class path, and the Java underscore home. So I've already taken a copy of those path locations, the bin, the lib, and the root directory. Okay, so what we are going to see on the next video is how we are going to set this path, class path, and Java underscore home, and make sure that successfully we'll be able to access the commands like Java and Java C commands. Okay, so we'll catch you in the next video. Thank you so much.